documented sample of the Republic of Croatia.
Separate note, yesterday was a really hard day, in the fact that my brain, it just felt like everybody, like all my ideas were in my head and somebody had put them in a big blender and mixed them up, and I couldn't separate them and they were tangled, and I really needed some clarity. And then I had a moment of remembering why I started this journey, and it's kind of to prove something to myself that I can do it. Last night I spent quite a long time deliberating. I made a little zine about what I like what is it that I want to get out of it. And fundamentally I need to enjoy the journey. Fundamentally I need to keep my brain entertained, and that's about dopamine hits. And that's what it's about, isn't it? It's about my little dopamine hits. To play with my ideas. So I'm going to write them all on here. And so that I know that if I'm a bit stuck, there's things that I can play with that relate to my project. Today's realisation is that this whole process of going to university has kick-started that I've got to achieve something. There's something I've got to achieve. It's going to be big. I've got to strive for something. I've got to be successful. What is it I've got to do? What am I working towards? I've got to come out of this with some success of some sort. Might write that down. Move them in. And I can identify with Mr. Messi. Yep, still hate pastels. Any bit of resilience I have built up over the last 5 weeks has gone. Why is that? Because the university admin want to see my BA certificate for my BA degree, and if they don't see it, they may kick me off my course. Maybe they've made a mistake and I shouldn't be there. Maybe I need a degree. Maybe they thought I had a degree and I haven't, and I'm going to look like a complete tit. Introduction. After spending a few weeks researching materiality in my own work and provoking I changed research direction as I needed to relate the proposal project and research project together. Here's positionality, your social, political context that creates your identity. Positionality. What makes your identity based on your race, your class, sexuality, and social influences? Positionality. 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 So yesterday I had a normal Tuesday brain fuck, for want of a better word, like panic, and I had so many. I hate it. I suppose I'm learning that I do process it, and actually Tuesday evenings have become, normally I wake up in the middle of the night with kind of an idea of where to go, and I am getting better at not going into that panic that I can't do it, why am I here? It is getting better, and I feel like I've got something down now that's getting there, and it just feels each time I'm just honing, like sifting out the bits that matter. And I think the reassurance and knowing that I've got so much in my Padlet to back up all these little research routes I've done, I hope, because that's 50% of this module, I hope that's going to support the fact that although I feel like I haven't got a lot in my presentation really compared to what I've done, the evidence that I have done all that research is there. I haven't given an update recently, probably because things have got a little bit easier. I had a meeting with Jack on Thursday, so I popped over and made a one-to-one meeting with her, which was really, really reassuring. Actually, it was lovely, really nice. And yeah, it was really good to kind of reassure myself that I was going in the right direction with my presentation and my proposal. So I was pleased with what I was doing, and I thought it was all right, but I have no idea because I don't know I don't know what their scale is or their expectations. So I already feel like my confidence has improved just by saying I'm doing a master's, and that I'm actually really enjoying it, and I'm really enjoying pushing myself. I'm almost a little bit anxious. This is what I do, think into the future. A little bit anxious about next year when I don't know what I'll be doing. It's almost like I'm really enjoying this. It'll be really hard next year after a really intense year. Yesterday at uni I was chatting to some of the people who've just done the BA. Really interesting. I kind of think I realised that actually I started off as a bit of disadvantage not knowing the university system, but now I feel like I'm actually advantaged because I've come from a place of working and kind of managing myself and my projects and everything else. So yeah, that's a positive really. I'm starting to feel actually really blessed that I'm the age I am and doing it, the masters, when I'm doing it. It's the 18th of November. I think I've pretty much done my presentation. Probably needs a bit of a spell check, but now having a little bit of a panic about the fact that I really should reference stuff, and from what I understand, that's quite important when you're doing a master's. been really bad at filming over the last few weeks, or maybe the last week. Probably because there's been more tears than there should be. I think as part of my research module, and part of what I've been doing at uni. Nipped out to my shed briefly, really, just to update on university, and I felt like inside the house, and when people are there I always feel they're going to come and interrupt me and listen, and then I'm on edge. And I've actually realised why I don't like people being in the house when I'm working. It's because I feel I might be judged, I guess, or people are looking at what I'm doing, which is really interesting actually. So I think what I've identified over the last week or so particularly is that I have an OCD social phobia. So I found this quite interesting actually. So I know I've always had it, and I know where it comes from. I think I've unpicked it. So I have a fear of looking stupid, a fear of getting things wrong, and I think that comes from being dyslexic. And in my dyslexia test it said that I had a really poor audio and visual memory, and I remember being things explained to me at school and I just wouldn't understand them straight away, and then there was only so many times you could ask the teacher again before they got cross, and actually kind of broke a memory, or it reminded me that happened quite a lot. So I wouldn't understand and I'd ask, I wouldn't understand and I'd ask, and then they get cross with you, and accuse you of not listening, and then you'd look stupid, and then I'd get upset, and then of course you wouldn't know what to do, and then probably wouldn't ask, but then it would create this anxiety of that happening, the anxiety of not understanding, and of course the more anxious you get, the less likely you are to retain that information you're being taught. And I suppose what I've realised is over the years, without kind of putting it into words, I've realised that, and I create situations for myself where I can learn with nobody looking, and that's when it comes in, which I hadn't really clocked, why I don't really like people in the house, especially if I'm doing something new, because I need the freedom to fuck up without anybody looking, and if I cry, I cry, it's not going to be embarrassing because nobody's looking at me. And so that was quite a big thing, I think, I unpicked last week, and that came from when we went to the laser studio. I didn't really realise I was anxious until perhaps I was there, and we had to, so stupid, and it wasn't even hard. I'd recorded all the stuff about uploading and booking because I knew I wouldn't remembered, and then we had to get on a computer, log in with our password and student number, and then we had a USB stick that we had to take along with a black and white image on, and we were going to print it off, and I thought that was really cool, looking forward to that. So I had a bit of a headache as well, so I was kind of just letting everybody go first because, I don't know, maybe I was stalling a little bit. But then everybody just went on the computers and just put their login number in and put the memory stick in, and just seemed to know what they were doing and didn't seem to be anxious at all. And so by the time I got on, I suddenly had a bit of a panic that I needed to have my password for my uni account, which I didn't have. So obviously it's saved on my phone, so I found it, and of course I haven't changed it, so it's this massive long number that they give you, and you get a password given to you, and I thought, well, it doesn't matter because it's saved. But then I needed to use it, and so I don't know if I was putting it in wrong. I tried several times, but obviously the more I was doing it, the more anxious I was getting, why isn't it working, I'm going to look stupid. So the technician guy, he was very lovely, came over, and I kind of showed, I said, look, here's my password, I know I shouldn't show you, can you put it in? And he was like, we haven't changed it. And it's like, no. And he said, I'll just use mine. So that was fine. I was like, okay, I'll just use yours. So he put his in, and then I put my memory stick in, and I'd saved my PNG file with no background. What fucking do? So of course it was black on black, and it was worse than that really, because you could see where accidentally at some point while doing this image I must have used white instead of the rubber, so you've got just white splodges. So it's just basically black with a few white splodges, and I just felt so fucking stupid. So I took my memory stick out. I mean, I didn't just run away. I said, oh right, not to worry, I'll book in a one-to-one. Bye everyone. Couldn't find the door out because there's like loads of doors. Asked some other students, oh there's the door out, ha ha ha, laugh. And as I'm, kind of walking away, I can feel my throat tightening and just want to cry and I can't breathe. And I walked back to the ferry, I suppose catastrophising, like I knew I couldn't do it. This is what next year's going to be like. It's going to be having to use one thing after another, and I won't know what to do, and I have panic attacks, and kind of like I haven't experienced that since I was learning to edit like 20 years ago probably, because I avoided the situation but I didn't really know why. I couldn't identify it. Now I can.
I started off researching today, feeling very disheartened, not really wanting to do it, and feeling like I'd lost my oomph completely. But now I've got it back, and I'm actually quite excited about what I'm researching. So, hey. Alexa, what does apprehensible mean? Take a quiet moment. I'll do a little bit of work because I haven't been in the mood and I'm slightly panicking. Alexa, what does intervallic mean? Oh yeah. Well, we've put in my film and my Padlet as a PDF, and so I think that's it.
Just click submit. You can now submit. Submission deadline 3 days.
Yeah. Shall I do it?
Click submit.
You're not prepared to do it. Okay. 3,
2,
2,
1.
Positionality. In what ways does positionality affect the creative user audience experience in your own practice? What is positionality? The social and political context that creates your identity. My positionality. I am a middle-aged, middle-class, straight, British, white mother, very average. However, I am also dyslexic, I am an LGBTQ+ ally, I consider it important to understand others' views and fight for those people who are sometimes unseen or unheard. I have been a single mum, have a neurodivergent household, I have worked with vulnerable women and unpaid carers. All these things and more affect who I am, what I fight for, and my positionality. How does my positionality affect my own art practice? Sketching is my current main art practice, using pen and watercolour, although I'm always evolving. I have an interest in social history and am politically aware. Within my sketchbooks, I document my life and things that I think are historical. I try to create and evoke a feeling of time and place, indulging my love of social history and perhaps being part of it. I realised in my 40s the enjoyment of art could be about the process and memory and not just the outcome. I've always worried that watercolour is seen as a bit chocolate boxy, a lesser medium used for sketches before a masterpiece, a feeling I'm still trying to shake. Sometimes I paint controversial subjects. Last year I painted this political canvas. In my research, I looked at British politics and socialism and the work of John Ruskin. He taught art free to workers in London. His priority was the process and looking and noticing the world. He was a socialist and part of the arts and crafts movement. I share his ethos. With my love of social history, I decided to research war artists. When internet searching, I got a list of men. I liked the work of Edward Ardazone. I was interested to compare my work to his. He too documented life, both in the war and after it. When searching women war artists, I came across a lady called Dora Meeson. What interested me about her was her design work for the women's suffrage. A part of history, as a woman, it's important not to forget. I diverge at this point briefly into data bias and gender. That also links to my positionality. To quote Caroline Creda-Perez, most data collected globally is based on men. The day I was researching Dora Meeson, Trump had won the American election. I decided to create my own illustration. Being controversial as a practicing artist is a battle of pleasing your audience and using your art to support your views. And those views are created from your positionality. It's a fine line to balance, but I sketch things important to me so that my sketchbooks are authentic. I decided as part of my research to unpack my own art journey. I used an analogy of a snakes and ladders board to help me plot events. Gail, my art teacher in adulthood, built up my confidence. She believed sketching should be the basis of any art, as it made you look at the world, really look, as Ruskin had taught in his classes in the 1900s, and now I teach this too. My first experience of art was seeing book illustrations as a child. Those of Beatrix Potter, Shirley Hughes, Cicely Mary Barker and Edward Ardazone were some of my favourites. These books reflect the household I was brought up in, with teachers as parents. I love that Shirley Hughes captures a sense of time and place within her work, evoking my own childhood. It was important to her to get very young children to read. She says, "What I want children to do is linger, turn the page, see themselves as a reader long before they can read. Important to me being a dyslexic and a late reader." In her book, The Lion and the Unicorn, she talked of recalling her own experience of the war. And I remembered then that last year I illustrated a book for a 95-year-old lady whose story was based on her own experiences of being an evacuee. It was a pleasure to work on. When looking at my own art journey, I looked at ADHD and dyslexia and the part it might have played. I found research that highlighted the high percentage of dyslexia in art students compared to non-art students. I looked at the stages of art development and explored when we lose the sense of creating for the joy of the process. Victor Lowerfield said, "For children, art is a way of learning and not something to be learned." I love that. In our art development, at the age of 11 to 14 is when the result of the work becomes more important than the process. Picasso said every child is an artist. The only problem is how to remain an artist once we grow up. As I've got older, I know the importance of play, so I set myself a task to play with no expectation, something I do when I'm creatively stuck. I'm lucky I found my joy in sketching, which for me is very much about enjoying the process. It never really is about a perfect sketch, but about a perfect memory. And that memory and that sketch is always reflecting my positionality. My sharing of sketches on social media has given me work that follows my interests. I suspect my audience demographic is similar to mine, sharing a positionality and a point of view. Recent commissions reflect that. I try to maintain the joy in the process of all that I do. I remind myself regularly to enjoy the journey. I started this research a little confused, researching all sorts of things that I haven't used. I feel that has enriched my research journey and helped me to unpick my positionality and its effect on my work and audience. I'm always learning. My own mother influenced me, now my own daughters are my educators.
I can see how we are all rounded by life experience and work, not just the constructs of who we were born as. That is reflected in my work and values at the age of 51. In the book Flow, The Psychology of Discovery and Invention, he says creativity is rarely a sudden insight or light bulb moment. It comes after years of hard work. My positionality of age and my experience enables me to reflect on my own creative journey and allows me to help others on theirs. My art practice of sketching and being authentic means the work I am offered reflects all that I love.